Right, Verns fishing. Not on the beach, as you can see. Excuse me. I'm in my shed. So what I'm doing is, this is just a quick video. I'm only putting it on there because I thought, why not? I'm making it. I make so much stuff. I never put anything on YouTube, so I just thought I'd just show it. It's just a couple of bits of equipment to enable me to whip my rods. I've got here, as you can see here, I've got some old rods. Now this rod was from the early 80s. My mum bought this rod and another rod, which is the main one that I'm gonna re-whip and probably rub down and varnish. And it's an East Anglian Rod Company rod. Now, if you look down all them eyes, you'll probably see, I hope, that because every time I used to redo an eye, I used to do it in the garage, and by the time I'd come out after the next day, after doing it, they'd all moved. So none of these eyes are in line with one another, as you can see. So I've got this rod to do, and I've also got this is an 11-foot fiberglass rod. I've also got a 10-foot fiberglass rod, which is another rod my mum bought me. That's an East Anglian Rod Company. They're all East Anglian Rod Company rods because I used to live in Norfolk, and you could go in the fish and tackle shops and buy second-hand ones, or you could go into the antique shops, junk shops, and you'd always find a rod in the corner for about £5, and you'd get it, and that'd be your fishing rod. So I want to redo them because I want to use them and do a video on using them with an old reel as well. So I'm making the equipment to enable me to whip the rod, varnish it, and obviously it needs to be something that rotates. So what I've done is, up to now, is I've got 2 pieces of wood, just 12mm shutter and ply it is. I've got these already cut. They're all cut to size because I cut them for a different job. So I took 2 pieces, I've screwed them and glued to make 90 degrees, and I've just put 2 pieces of wood on to strengthen it, and that's all I've done up to now. So what am I going to turn the rod with? Well, I bought this for my girls when they were 4, 5, and used to be in their bedroom a lot, and then it was chucked away, and then everybody in the house wanted to chuck it away, and I said no, we can do something with that, and this is what I'm going to do. That's going to be fixed onto here. I've already put this piece of pipe in there with some gaffer tape. This, I've already disconnected this because I'd got this far, I'd made this and disconnected this, and thought, why don't I just have a camera running every now and then, and Tom can do a small video for when I can't get to the beach or the Humber. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes in this and bolt this to this bit. When this is being used, it'll just be put on this workbench, and I'll just whack 2 screws through this so it don't move. I've put this, it comes off, look. I've put this piece of waste pipe or whatever it is on with some gaffer tape, because you can't beat gaffer tape. This is going to be, I don't know what you call them. We'll call it a whirly gig. A whirly gig for re-whipping your eyes and varnishing your rod. So what I've done is put this on here with the gaffer tape, and then that'll just go in there. And now I know it don't fit, But I should just put some foam around there and put it on with some gaffer tape, and then it'll be centralised enough, and then it'll just push in there. There'll be enough to grip that for that to turn. And that's all it is. I can't remember how much these sorts of things are for doing you right now. Let me just plug that in. I don't know how much they are, but I seem to think it was more money than I was prepared to pay. There. And normally you'd have your disco ball going around, but now I've got a piece of drainage pipe which will be mounted on there, revolving round, so I can whip my eyes. And yes, I know it's only got one speed and you can't speed it up, but then it'll just take me longer to do the rod on it. I've only got 2 or 3 rods to do, so it'll just be a case of it'll take as long as it takes, won't it? But I've saved some money. Don't do this at home. It's naughty and wrong, but it's what I'm doing. Right. So like I say, I've got these 3 feet on the back, and what I intend to do is have the 3 feet, so the 2 feet are at the top. So I'm going to drill a couple of holes through here, and one there, and then I shall marry that up and drill it, and I'll bring you back. Right, so I'm going to drill either side of these 2 feet now. Drill them underneath, I think. So drill them underneath the foot. Then we'll put the main drill through. So I shall drill that one above the foot, so that when it's screwed up and bolted together, it'll put pressure on all the feet properly. Right, check the bolt. Brilliant. So now that one's mounting. What I could have done, I could have had this bit taller. What we'll do is we'll measure that to the middle. Ain't got to be bang on, it's only for me. I like making things like this because you can just make it rough and ready, so you can leave all the bits of wood on. You ain't got to make it look pretty because it's just for yourself. So it is quite nice actually doing it, because it hasn't got to be perfect, it's just got to do a job. Get that on there like that, and what we'll do is put that drill back in. The drill that is there's always something, isn't there? Because you're Russian, that's why. Not that I'm Russian, I'm from Norfolk. Right, let's just double check that that's centralised roughly. I don't know if you can hear all them dickies out there, but since I cut the edge and it's let all light in it, we've got thousands of edge sparrows that come into a hedge. Right, let's drill this. This drill is balanced. I've got to sharpen that. Pull them splinters off. Because it doesn't matter. Right. Now what I'll do is I shall bolt the first one up. So let's get a bolt in here. Right, back in a bit. Bolts ain't long enough. Right, I've gone 6mm now. gone to a 6mm bolt now because the 5mm bolts I had were they weren't long enough, so we've had to upscale. And then we put a washer and a nut on the back. This first one's just to hold it, so I can then drill the others. Mark it, move it out of the way. And we put that one in place. Well, I can mark this one. Take that bolt out, move that round. Right. Put that bolt in there, in the hole. That one in there, and we turn that around. Washer on and a nut. Washer. Then your nut. Right, and this ain't got to be roasted up tight because it's plastic, and it'll just crack and shatter. Did you hear that? There you go. So that then can, where does that go? That goes to there. Now, I'm only going to get one screw on there. One screw is better than none though. Yep. Well, that ain't coming off, that's just the cover. I can always put a bit of gaffer tape on it. And then this plugs in there. And we'll run the lead through there. This lead will be out the way. I ain't put that in ever. There's always something in there. Unplug it, make it safe. Mind you, it's on a transformer plug. It's only 12 volts. This just slides on and engage it. Right, I've just had to slacken the nuts off at the back because the wood has got because no wood's straight and square. Because this has got a slight bow in it, very slight. It distorted the plastic base, so when I tried to slip this cog on, it wouldn't slip on into the drive cog, and the nut that holds the drive cog on was loose. So because of that, that's enabled me to find out that this was loose, and I've tightened it, and that's on a left-hand thread. So I'm going to put the cover on now. What I should probably do is drill a hole where the other screws are on the back, so I can get the little screw on a magnetic screwdriver and put it in and hold the base line. I ain't doing that now. Right, the charge is the plugs, it leads in, plugged in, turn to the side. It's only got to do me 2 or 3 rods, and I think it'll last that. So that's the drive end, and that will eventually be down here, and then my rod will go in there, and I need a support here or at the end, wherever I want to position it, but I'll be able to move that wherever and whack a screw in that as well soon. I expect it'll go like this. I'm not bothered, because the other end will have a piece of felt or material or whatever over that holding it down. So right, so I'll get on with the other bit now, but that's that, and that's all it is. Giving you a close up. That's all it is. So I'll be back in a bit when I start making the next bit. We'll cut that out, and all I'll get now is filing that. I've got to go get the file. Just see if I can cut that bit off of there. I've cut it. I'll break that off with a pair of pliers. Yeah. So I'm going to file that now. I'm going to just go get a round file and file that. Right. Camera, just again, I'm using this new camera. It's not hard to use. It's a little bit more fiddly than the other one. So what I've done is I've cut the slot out for the rod, and that will have a piece of felt stuck in there to protect the rod so it don't wear away. I've then took the edges off, and I shall give it a rub down with some sandpaper. I've marked a line across here, which is the depth of the shutter and ply. I've put 4 holes in, 4 screws which are plasterboard screws, and I've just put a line of glue along there. Nice and square. Like I say, it's not going to be this nut, but this nut's obviously heavy. It's the size of my hand. It'll just have something on there. I've got some weights, old dumbbell weights, and I'll stick one of them on it. Might be able to do it with the other side as well, actually. That'll hold it down. Now I ain't got any felt, but I'm going to put some felt in this. What I'll do is I shall. Where can I get some felt from? I've got some felt. I've got some felt in the house. Right, got some foam somewhere. So that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. Literally that. And this, I'll do my hand whipping, just by hand, but just by turning this by hand. Because it don't matter how long it takes. I know you can get a professional turner and stuff, and you can whip it on and zzz and wind up, but I couldn't do that anyhow. You know, this will be the first rod I've done like this. I've always done them, as you can tell, by hand in a garage on a winter's day, waiting for the araldite to go off. So I'll just turn it by hand to whip it, and once it's done I shall use this machine so that when I put the high build on here, the epoxy on here, it'll just turn and I won't get all these blobs and googly bits, and that's all come broken off there, but you can see it'll be all nice and smooth like other people's rods are, hopefully. But there, let me try and find a bit of foam and then we'll give it a whirl. Right, so what I've done is I've levelled this up with the edge of the bench, which will come apparent in a minute, because I've levelled the other side with the V in to the level of the bench, so I know they're straight. I've put a weight on. I've stuck 2 weights on this side. That's enough. This, as you have seen before, goes round lovely and quiet. And what I've done is, let me sort these legs out on this tripod. What I've done is I've got a piece of plumber's insulation, the foam insulation, which has got the split down the middle, down the length, and I've cut it thinner at this end, thicker at this end. Now this is okay, it does the job, but I need to have a little bit thicker this end and a little bit thicker this end, because it goes in too much. But once the rod is in, we slide that in there like so. I ain't gripping it tight enough in my opinion, but it's doing its job. And let me get you can see this eye here, yep, and then we'll turn it on. And there you have it. One rod rest. What do you call this thing? It's a whipping machine. Let's call it a whipping machine. It's Vernon's whipping machine. Yep. And that's that. That's revolving round. I'll be able to whip that here. I shall just make a piece of wood here so I can rest my hand on it. I can even rest my hand at the side there and just do it at the bottom, whipping it on. Or like I say, I can just turn it by hand. I can turn that off, and I can just turn this by hand. Like so, to whip it on. Be fine. Now I am going to put some felt in here. Could even cut a piece of this glove material off and put it in. So I don't think I need to show you that, but I'm going to cut a piece of felt and put it in there, so it's got something soft so it doesn't wear. I don't think that'll wear anything anyhow on there, but I shall put a bit of felt in there and a piece of string. We'll do that now. That's that. String. Tie this string on here. I need to be a lefty. Just a granny knot. That'll go over there like so, and then we'll just loop that round like that. And there'll be no jumping about then, will there? Not that there's any jumping about now, because I've measured everything by eye. Yeah, but that's just on there. I'll put it on loose. And that stops it coming off. So there you have it. Showing you how I made this, weighted down with some dumbbell weights from my youth. This is a glitter ball light. Here's the glitter ball, bit of thunder, a bit of drainage pipe, gaffer taped onto the nut that the glitter ball screws onto, and then I've cut, as I've shown you, a piece of film to go in here, tapered it with a knife, very sharp knife. The brass ferrule pushes in and we get the revolutions passing through the rod from my motor end all the way to a piece of cloth which is glued onto here with PVA glue. I might put a drawing pin in each side of that just to hold it, and then there's a piece of string here just to stop that bouncing, which it isn't doing, because if I take the string off, it's perfectly alright, look. So the string's there just as a safety measure, you know, in case it flies off and takes me eye out, because we don't want any accidents, do we? So that's it. And even got that lined up, look. So now it's lined up with the edge of the bench, and there you go. So now I can, and what I used to have trouble with before is when I used to redo an eye, since watching fantastic YouTube, I never used to tape one end. I never used to get the eye in the right place, tape it so it holds it in place while I whip one side. I used to whip it whilst trying to hold it, and as you can imagine, none of the eyes are in line with each other. So thank you YouTube for watching a few videos on doing re-whipping and retying eyes. I've learnt something. I figured out to make this. I haven't seen this on YouTube before. I'm sure someone's already done it, but this is what I've done. You've seen me make it, and I saved a few quid. And the other good thing about this is, and I'm sure it's the same if you buy some from a shop, is it don't take a lot of room up, does it? At all, because this piece will sit on this piece, and it'll just be stored away. Where I don't know where I'll find anywhere to store it, but it'll store away. And I can now rebuild the rods that my mum bought me, so that I can use them to go fishing where I used to fish years ago. I'm going to go back to the same place and fish those places exactly the same as when I was just a boy fishing. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing. And the rods that my mum bought me will last, well, when I die I expect my kids will inherit them, and they'll just chuck them in the bin because they won't know what they are. But hopefully they'll see this video and they'll realise, because if I tell them, they'll just not even remember anyhow, because their life is so busy, as everybody's life is. So but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm looking forward to doing. I've just bought a rod off eBay. I cannot for the life of me find these eyes. They're hard chromed. That's what they are, hard chromed. And I can't. I used to be able to buy these eyes. I've even seen them in Jerry's about 15 years ago, 16 years ago, if not out longer. But you can't get them now. They just don't do them. I've found an eye similar on some rod rebuild site. And they might be a Seymour or something like that, hard chromed, but they've only got one size. I think it's this size, so I might end up buying that. But I've got a rod coming from eBay, just paid 11 quid for it plus postage, and it's got these eyes on it, so I can butcher that rod, which is a shame, but I'll butcher that rod to repair the rods that matter to me. And then what I'll then do is I'll take that rod, which is an old Shakespeare rod, and I shall re-ring it. I ain't bothered what rings go on that. I just want the correct rings on these rods. I can't believe that there isn't more diversity in rings or guides, whatever you want to call them, for old fishing rods. Possibly there ain't many people out there that are doing up old rods. Perhaps there's no market for it. But when you got a couple of rods that mean something to you, then you want to do it right, don't you? Well, I want to do it right. Right, there's one thing I've got to do. Ooh, it's only a little shed. Well, it's my mum's shed actually. I say it's my mum's shed. I went with my mum to buy it. It's 10 foot by 6 foot, I think. So in a Who's shed, but it's a good size shed, and it's cost £100 in 1989, I think. Yeah, if it's, yeah, 1989. £100 from old oh, what was his name? Billy. Anyhow, he's an old gypsy on down Southtown in Yarmouth. Always made sheds and all sorts of things. And we went to pick a shed up. Went to pay for the shed. The shed was delivered up to the house when we moved. But we went to pay for the shed. And when you went into his main shed, there was a huge hole about 20 foot by 20 foot in the ground. And it was just filled with oil and creosote. So if you fell in there, you'd never come out. And he just used to chuck all the sheds as he made them in it, and then he'd pull them out on a crane, on a hoist, and just leave them dripping there until they finished dripping, and then stand them outside to dry. And that was how he painted all his sheds. Now this shed has lasted ages, apart from in places we had a bit of rot and the roof, so I had to re-strengthen the roof with pieces of wood, as you can see. And there was pieces of wood that I had to replace, like these. So it has been repaired. It hasn't lasted a lifetime, but 1989 to today, it's a long old time. Anyhow, what I'm doing now, you've seen it working, but I've just lifted up the main butt end of the rod, which I shall show you in a minute. This is my personal rod. What I didn't want to do is, all I'm going to do is butt that up to there and gaffer tape it on. But this is heavy, and I don't want all that weight on this, because all I want this to do is to revolve. That's all I want that to do. I don't want it carrying all this weight. So I'm now gonna turn this off. I'm now gonna, I've marked this, I've drawn around this pipe here, and it's given me this. And I'm gonna now saw that. So that's what you're now gonna see. Jigsaw. First of all, we'll cut the base. Mark the base out so it's the same. That's the base cut. Well, it's hailing now. Turn it off. Always turn your tools off. It ain't got to be perfect because it's rubber. Got a rubber butt end on them. These rods. That's there like that now. Pretty good, isn't it? Now then, what I'm going to do with this, put that on there, draw a line, get the drill, screwdriver bit out. Brilliant. Put that to there. 1, 2, 3. I can count. My schooling wasn't a waste of time. Well, weren't a waste of time until I decided to turn that switch on and decide to learn. Stick a weight on there. This will then come on to here like so. That'll go to there. We'll just try a little bit of tape. I ain't got much. Well, that's too much. Put the end on that there. I don't even think it needs taken on for these ridges. Doesn't going to move. So that's there like so. And what we'll do is we'll switch it on, and I haven't tried it. I'm now switching it on. There you go. So. Here we are. This is the butt end of the fishing rod. It's heavier. It's an old East Anglian rod company. You can just about see the emblem on there. I have lost the emblem off that. I'm gonna try and paint them on as best I can, or get someone to make a sticker. I might be able to go to Rainbow Signs and say to them, please make me a sticker like that, a decal. So all I've done is This is now supporting the weight of that, I think. Yeah, supporting the weight of that. And that's all I've done. You've seen me make this, and that's just to support all this weight, so that it's not, the weight isn't on the motor, which is only plastic, and it's a plastic cog, and it's, you know, is what it is. But I would say that's cost me nothing, because that would have been thrown out. It's earned its money for making the kids go wow looking at the coloured lights in the room. The wood is offcut bits of wood, and that's it. So let me just turn this off now. So no, let's just whiz that round again. Oh, it revolt, it goes different ways. This here, as I've just said, is the rod that my mum bought me. It's an East Anglian rod again. That's what all my rods are, these old fiberglass rods. It's a fiberglass rod. You've got these grips down here, in the butt of another grip, and then you've got your winch fitting on here, which is chrome nuts. Put your reel in, and then you just wind these down, and then wind that down to it just so it don't loosen. You've got a cork grip at the top, fiberglass, and this is what I did. I put one of these Fuji eyes on, and like I say, you've seen the eyes on the other rod. They're meant to be hard chrome. You can't get them anymore. On the other half of this rod of mine, which is my personal rod, is I've got a original hard chrome eye there. Then I've got, this is all I could find at the time, so I put it on so I could use it. Ain't right. This one's been lost. I have kept it, but I can't find it now, because I was going to just solder it back on. And the tip eye. So that's the rod. They're the rods that are quite precious to me for sentimental reasons. And I've varnished this. As you can tell, it's better than the other one. But I used a matte varnish, so I'm going to give it a light rub over, and I shall spray that with gloss, and I shall repaint these tips. And then this rod will be ready for me to use doing me fishing. So that's it for this video. I've shown you how I've made my whipping machine for putting eyes onto any rod really. This will do modern rods as well, so hopefully it'll last a long while. If it don't, I've only got to buy a glitter ball, haven't I, from Argos. I suppose you can still buy them. And that's it. So, and in fishing, it's just showing you what I've done with what I've got left of bits of rubbish really. And I think these whipping machines, they're over £100. I'm sure they are. I've seen them at over £100 anyhow, and I'm sure they're better than this, because they'll have somewhere where you can put your cotton bobbins. But I don't need that. I can just hold it by hand and do it. It doesn't have to be all fancy, does it? So anyhow, press that like button, ring that bell so that you get notification of my next video, and please subscribe and comment. It's all appreciated. Our subscriptions are going up all the time. I can't believe it. Thank you very much for everyone that's subscribed to me, and please keep subscribed. Alright, thanks a lot. See you later. That's it, Tom. Super now. Look at that! then you nut.